Good evening, everyone.
That's it.
I would like to welcome everyone to the Candidates Night. My name is Mark Landry. I'll be the Candidates Night moderator. Just have some rules to go over this evening, just so we can have some fun and be in orderly fashion. The candidates will have 3 minutes to introduce themselves and expand upon their political platform. Questions will be received from the moderator, as well as audience participation. Participants should approach the microphone in the aisle, identify themselves, and address a question to one candidate. Okay. After that, I'll take over and address the other candidates with the same question. The moderator will rule out any questions deemed inappropriate, offensive, or derogatory. Answers to the questions will be limited to 2 minutes in order to maximize the number of questions in the time allowed. Just for the candidates to know, when you're talking, it won't be from candidate to candidate. There'll be no debating here. It's just to get to know people. It's going to be informal. We should have some fun, come up with some great questions. And what I'd like to do now is the introduction of uncontested candidates to come up to the microphone and just give a couple remarks, if there are any, and let us know who you are.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Ford.
You want to come to the mic right in the middle. Don't be bashful.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Ford. I'm running for trustee for the Dudley Library. I'm running unopposed, but I'm currently appointed on the board and looking forward to serving another year.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Tim Shore, and I am again running for the Southern Worcester County Regional Vocational School District School Committee, better known as Bay Path. I've been on for the last 9 years, actually having a very good time on the school committee, and hope to do it again. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Lori Ducharme, and I am also running unopposed and I was appointed to the Board of Health, the seat on the Board of Health, and I'm running for the remaining one-year term left on Ted Sikowski's position. So, hope to see everybody around.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you. Anybody else? Everybody's good? Okay. Right now, we'll go with the introduction of the Board of Selectmen candidates in alphabetical order. What's going to happen when I read your name, you'll have approximately 3 minutes to give your opening remarks. Just introduce yourself and expand upon your political platform. Jerry DiDonato.
Good evening, everybody. My name's Jerry DiDonato. I'm proud to have an opportunity to be considered for Dudley's next sitting selectman. A little about myself. I built my retirement home here in Dudley and have been a resident here for the past 3 years. I was a former resident of Webster, where I was born and raised. I graduated from Bartlett High School, went on to Worcester Boys Trade for 2 years. From there, I worked at Norton Company for 25 years as a metal worker and a welder. I attended night school through their educational assistance program and earned a degree in liberal arts from Assumption College in Worcester. I own my own successful flooring business for 7 years. I am employed currently at Home Depot in Natick. I've been there for 24 years, 12 of which I've been on their management team. I also served 6 years in the United States Army Reserves in an engineering battalion. I am a current appointed member of the Dudley Finance Committee and have been for the past 2 years. I am a strong advocate for our seniors, proud veterans, and those on a fixed income. If elected, I will strive to ensure that they have everything they need. I am also a strong advocate for our fire and police departments, and if elected, I will support them in getting the much-needed equipment they need to keep Dudley safe and secure. I would also support our schools, as our school system is among our top priorities. I feel Dudley will have some financial challenges in the future and feel my experience working with sitting board selectmen and members of the Finance Committee will benefit Dudley greatly in meeting those challenges. My work experience and management skills and being a former business owner for 7 years will help steer Dudley in the right direction. And my pledge to you, if elected, I will do my best to keep Dudley's tax rate among the lowest in the state. I am at retirement age, and if elected, I will give Dudley a full-time selectman and have a more informal way of contacting me for your concerns. I strongly urge voters to come out and vote for me on June 10th. And one other thing, we desperately need volunteers on committees, and believe me, your contribution to this would be a terrific benefit for the town. You can visit me on my Facebook page, and if you want to contact me, and thank you.
Jason Johnson.
Hello, Dudley. My name is Jay Johnson. I live on Jonathan Pass, just down the road. I was raised in Dudley, Thompson, Auburn, where in Auburn I achieved the rank of Eagle Scout. I went to WPI where I received a BSME in mechanical engineering. I later went to Anna Maria for an MBA degree to balance out my education with business experience. I've worked as an engineer in a number of different industries, including metal finishing, telecom, and medical device. For the last 10 years, I've been leading a increasingly large group of people at a medical device company nearby, where I have roughly 100 people that report into my organization. Some of the best people I know are making medical devices not too far from here. I'm an experienced problem solver using many different techniques. A lot of them sound very boring if I list them off, but the key to all of them is critical thinking, really understanding the problem you're trying to solve, and never implementing something just to say you did something, but something that addresses the problem. Most importantly, the husband of Roberta and father of 3 kids that are either currently or just got out of the school system here in Dudley. My community service includes a number of years on the board for Dudley Little League. I did 3 years on the Board of Health and was committee chair of the Boy Scout troop for about a year. What I'm hoping to do is a future selectman, if you so choose, the voters of Dudley, would be to provide leadership, problem solving, and a strong connection to the future of Dudley. My kids are in school with many of your kids, and I understand a lot of the challenges that you face and the needs you have in this town. What I see the 3 most important parts of being a selectman are respecting the townspeople and businesses. I would treat them as customers of a process that is town government. We need to respect the people doing the work in town. Without them, the good work for the services would not get done. Fire, police, right here in town hall and in the schools, they need our support. And also, the tough one is how do we continuously improve all those areas to provide the best service at the most economical cost for the townsfolk. So I'd ask for your vote June 10th. You don't have to vote for 2, you can only vote for 1 if you want to, so choose.
Tough crowd.
Thank
I
you.
had better jokes than that, but that's about it. So thank you.
Paul Joseph.
I I lived in town over 30 years. Live up on Airport Road. Married to Laurie, who is the strength behind many of my convictions. Laurie Stark, now Laurie Stark Joseph. Our daughter KJ, the graduate of Shepherd Hill, Clark University, bachelor's and master's, and she is now the safety coordinator for the entire IPG campus in Oxford, the entire facility. I was a college administrator and dean for 31 years, and I handled everything from, as chief judicial affairs officer, everything from roommate squabbles to rapes. And it was a difficult job. It was a job I would not have wanted to pass on to anyone, and in fact, I didn't. I retired from there in 2002. During that time, I accumulated 21 years of statewide negotiations of the contracts of all the administrators in the public state college and university, now university system. Learned a lot during that time, and I've applied many of those negotiation skills to a number of contracts that I've negotiated on behalf of the town with police, fire, highway, etc. What makes our current Board of Selectmen really neat? They're intelligent. They're articulate. They don't have hidden agendas. Agendae, actually. And each of us brings a unique set of skills to the office. When blended together, it makes us an effective board. What do I bring for skills? I'm not highly tolerant of liars and BS artists. And when they show up at that microphone during selectmen's meetings, I call them out. I find a way of calling them out. I see John Massey shaking his head. I will root them out. My commitment, my skills to the town started in 2000, well, actually almost 30 years now, thanks to Aura. Police Evaluating Committee, Personnel Board, and then 15 years I've been a selectman here in Dudley. I'd like to continue. One of the things that, I'll talk about the things that I want to do in my closing statement, but in 2005, when we moved into this building, we were quoted, a subcontractor of the architect, quoted us $37,000 to coordinate the move into this building. I asked the board to hold off for a week. They did. I studied it, came back. I said, you know what? We don't need to do that. I'll run it. And I did. Over 2 weekends, I coordinated it and saved the town $37,000. Joanne Simsack and I were the two that initiated the current process we have for selling tax title land, which has generated a couple $100,000 worth of income. That's gone into keep our tax rate low. So the bottom line is, I've enjoyed the 15 years. 3 years from now, I'd like to tell you I enjoyed the 18 years. And I'd really appreciate your support come June 10th. Thank you.
Fantastic, great answers, great opening, like it. So what we're going to do now is get a little bit more into who you are and how you feel and what you think about issues. Right now, what I'd like to do, starting with, we'll go in alphabetical order if that's okay. Jerry DiDonato, what do you feel is the most important issue in Dudley?
I think economic development is one of the most important issues. It's how to attract more tax revenue so it's not passed on to the voters. Our school system, safety and security. Yeah, that's my main goal right there.
Excellent. Jason Johnson.
There's a lot of similar themes to what my opening statement contained. Most towns have a number of problems.
How about the most important?
Sorry?
The most
The
important.
most important.
Yes, let's pick one.
I was getting to that.
Okay.
Most important, how do you manage what the town wants versus what the town wants to pay in tax rate. And that includes businesses and the taxpayers. And there has to be a balance between what we want, what we need, and what we have to pay. So that means the problems have to be solved correctly. You know, a lot of problems are relatively out of our hands, but you know, we can advocate for the town, such as school funding from the state, right? That's really out of our hands. But the rest of the budget, you know, that's important to solve. You know, whether there's 2-year-old expired fire equipment or a new roof for this building. You know, how to make the most of what the taxpayers pay without incurring a further burden.
Great. Paul Joseph.
I think the most pressing issue is maintaining a tax rate that is both efficient and affordable. And that includes, one of the aspects of that includes infrastructure. I have been working for close to 3 years now to get our state rep and our state senator and Jim McGovern's office to be aware that if Dudley could, and this is my specific proposal, if Dudley could take and expand out West Main Street, negotiate with Quinnebog to go through the 4 corners, 5 corners, how many ever there are, and then connect with Southbridge for sewer and water, for sewer. Part of the deal is we need to develop and tap into an aquifer that is, by the way, already been tested in the past. The water is pure. The flow rate of that water exceeds all current water well sources in Dudley. So what I want to do is I want to take and run lines out through West Main Street, negotiate with Quinnebog to go through their property, pick up the sewer out of Southbridge, because their sewer plant is in the southern part, and then also tap into the aquifer, negotiate with the property owners, and we know who they are, and get that water to now become a source for us that would enable us to attract clean, and I emphasize clean, industry to go out through West Dudley and up north towards Southbridge. We do that, we expand the tax base to the commercial side, and we lessen the tax base reliance on the residential side. That's what I'd like to do that's what I think is the most important thing.
Excellent, excellent. I'm going to pick one more question, and then I'm going to open it up to the audience, since they're here and they're going to be voting, and they have some good, there's your time to get the questions out and get some answers. So I'm going to pick, do you have any ideas on other ways to improve our community and make it more attractive for private investment? How would you, building relations with Nichols College and pursuing a pilot program? And we'll start off with Jerry.
I think it's all about tax incentives. To attract new businesses, I believe if you, well, first you've got to find an entrepreneur that wants to invest in Dudley. As soon as you find one, you're going to have to say, look, we will give you a tax break for a few years and give an incentive to get them in here. Yeah, it's all about the money, I believe, getting into businesses.
Okay. We'll go off to see what Jason thinks.
So I have some experience working with the company I work for in bringing in different schools, WPI being one of them, in many cooperative situations, and one of which was a leadership development program. We had Shepherd Hill students involved with WPI students learning leadership skills and working on projects. So those kinds of relationships are great footholds to develop further relationships to bring in tech. So companies want to be able to get in and out, so the infrastructure. You know, Paul talked about water. Obviously, getting to main roads to deliver products is pretty important. So where's our industrial areas that are closest to the main roads? How can we develop that? How can we propose the solutions to solve those problems so that we'd be more attractive to companies that, as Jerry said, the money guy. What's going to look attractive to someone like that? So I think you need to lay the groundwork before you develop those relationships. But you can start small and you work your way up. Can you have a small group of people working together on a specific project, and then it creates other relationships with alumni and some of their supporters.
Fantastic. Paul?
First and foremost, town needs to get a positive image out there to the business community. Not only does it need to be positive, it needs to be honest. Because when they come in, we want them to have access to what we tell them and who we tell them we are. We've done that with the Economic Development Committee and the 5-year plan that they've developed under John Breyer. And one of the aspects is agriculture. Just last week, no, let me go back. Forget, the people who built the plant that does assembly of computer parts for the Defense Department, the government, they came in behind the shirt factory on West Main Street under a previous town administrator, not Greg. They came in, they did everything, but their contractor misled them, and they did not apply for a TIF with the town until it was too late, after a certain level of construction had begun. They contacted me. I then busted my tail to get the town to admit that they should not be punished for what the general contractor failed to give them in terms of proper information. As a result, we gave them a TIF. They moved from Connecticut to Dudley. They're in town, and they're functioning and doing very well. Just last week, we had a company come in, which is going to require more study, more research, but a company came in, I'll make it quick, Mark, I promise, came in and came up with a proposal to build a facility in town on top of, not digging up, on top of land that we know is contaminated up at the old dye house. Doesn't faze them. And their proposal was that they would give us 3% of their gross income, which was projected at $200 million. Well, you know what? That's a lot of money. That's $6 million. That's a third of our current budget. But that kind of proposal sounds good to be true. I want to be sure. I haven't investigated it. Neither has the Board of Selectmen. That's what we need to do.
Great. Excellent. Good answers. Very informative. So what I'm going to do now is open this up to the audience. Whoever wants to step up to the mic, just, again, identify yourself, address a question to one of the candidates, and they'll answer it, and I'll take it from there. Come on. Don't be shy. Anybody that has any questions at all, they're right here in front of you before you even vote.
Mary Sansucci. I'm interested in knowing how the three of you feel about recreational marijuana, a recreational marijuana store locating in Dudley.
Which one are you addressing it to specifically?
All three.
It's one specifically.
Mr. Joseph.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mary. And congratulations on getting that petition passed at last night's at Monday night's meeting, too. You did well on that. Very well. There are two positions you can take on the issue. One is personal, and one is political. Personally, I've never taken marijuana. Once it got snuck into some brownies at a party I was at, and I couldn't wait to find the guy who did it and didn't tell us. That was not a good experience. Politically, it's the law in Massachusetts that medical and recreational marijuana are allowed. I'm in favor of any business coming in that will serve the benefit of the community, meaning Dudley, without creating additional problems for the town of Dudley. And I don't care if it's airplane manufacturing, marijuana facility, or anything else that's allowed by law. But I don't want anything coming in until the ins and outs and all of the specifics are known. And things that we want are guaranteed in writing. Without that, not interested.
Okay. We'll take that over to Jerry.
Well, I've read about how Leicester's making out with theirs and the traffic that it causes. They actually have to have a parking lot and have a van go back and forth to the store. It generates a lot of overtime for the police department. That's something you'd have to take up with townspeople. You'd have to talk over with the Board of Selectmen. I'm sure it would have to come up to a vote, too. I mean, I sure wouldn't want one near me. The traffic is horrendous. Evidently, there's a big turnout for it, so I really have to take that in advisement and contact some other people on that one.
Okay. Jason?
Oh, I currently have a hard time getting by some businesses right now with a lot of traffic. So that goes to planning. If there's a business that has a legal product that can provide tax revenue and plans for traffic security, then it should be appropriately allowed in a town. Now, obviously, there's a lot of questions that need to be answered. Is this going to be a temporary boom? Is it going to be a long-term financial gain for the town? Is it going to be 10,000 of these places open all across the state, and these short-term traffic issues will be alleviated? Or if we plan correctly, will they be alleviated up front? I think there's a lot of stigma involved in anything that goes from legal to illegal and then illegal to legal. I wonder what our forefathers did when alcohol became legal again. I'm sure they didn't complain about the tax revenue. So as long as it's prepared correctly in the properly zoned areas with conditions to take care of traffic and parking, then I believe that should be allowed.
Okay, great. Good answers. Is there anybody else that has any questions? At all? Because if not, I'm going to ask one or two more.
Mike?
Yes, sir.
You folks are here because you're interested. You're interested because you know about the town and you want to know more. Don't hesitate. Ask questions. Now's the time. Great.
Like that. Kristen Mayotte, Southbridge Road. I have a quick question concerning how you see that you will bridge our community to be more involved in the future. I know, Mr. Donato, you mentioned we have a desperate need for committees. I know that firsthand. I have a husband on a whole bunch of them. And so my question is this, particularly when it comes to the school district. I know we've done a lot as a town here in Dudley in which we've had members of the student body represent themselves with the Selectmen's Board, particularly I know Bailey Bowes, who's here tonight, played a big role in being that bridge, and that is important. But what are other ways? I feel as though we live in silos, particularly relative to the budget and financial purposes, but also thinking about how to champion our youth to be involved in our town. How do you think the selectmen can play a role in that?
And that was directed to whom?
We'll start with Mr. Joseph, please.
Okay, Paul.
Okay.
You wanted me to stand up.
First of all, we need to acknowledge that Bailey is going to college at the institution where I worked for 31 years. And when I started, it was Worcester State College, and it's now Worcester State University. And Bailey's been accepted into the nursing program there. So I congratulate him on that. Now, don't clap for this one. But he's also recently been named prom king at Shepherd Hill. So I never know what he's going to come up with next. Number one, a selectman needs to put his money where his mouth is. They need to walk the walk as well as talk the talk. I was the only selectman that attended every single public hearing on the Islamic cemetery. I was the only selectman that called out Jason Talaman, and I hope this gets broadcast in Worcester, the lying lawyer that he is, for his lies about the town of Dudley. Number one, he needs to set that example. I've done that, and I'm going to continue to do that. And you do it willingly and joyfully, so that the youth of today see that and say, you know what, I think he's enjoying what he's doing. The second thing I'd like to do that we haven't done is I would like to set up a mentoring program where any elected town official or town employee gets to mentor a student who has interest in their aspect of town government or any aspect of student government, and get it done, Bailey, you listen to this, for credit, as community service or as credit. And the second thing is, I want to preach to people. You're not going to find the time to volunteer. You have to make the time. You can always find excuses for not finding the time. But if you make the time, you'll be rewarded for what you do. And I'd love to talk to the high school and middle school students and let them hear that. I'd love to do that. That's what I would do.
Excellent. Jerry?
Well, that's a tough one. Like you say, you have to make the time. You'll never have the time. You're just going to have to communicate to people at any forum, even like this one, that we need volunteers. Probably should find out what committees we need. I mean, everybody has different work experiences. It's our town, it's our money. People should get involved. I mean, I look at how many registered voters we have and actually how many voters vote. It's surprising. Sometimes it could be embarrassing. It's just, I agree with Mr. Joseph. He has some good ideas on that. That's all I have.
Jay?
Well, I don't think you should hope people watch these meetings. I think you should directly be involved with the youth of this area. You know, how do we show up and help work at assemblies of science fairs and Little League games and Boy Scout service projects? You got to show up and show the good example of, the work pays off. And while you're there, you're talking about, we can do bigger and better things if we all get involved, if we do the work. I think providing that good example of service in the community, whether you're on a board, you get elected or not, show up and do the work.
Excellent. You got my brain thinking. Scott?
Just want to, Kristen, the last questioner got some thoughts going in my mind.
And what's your name?
My name is Scott Zukowski. I live on Catherine Street. I'm somewhat active in Dudley, and I still find that many times I find out about things, for example, that are happening at Shepherd Hill. Sitting in the back of the selectmen's meeting on Monday night, I find out from the student representative that it happened 3 days ago. Or I read about it in the Telegram, or I hear about it at church, that such and such happened last night. Is there, and I've posed this to the last 3 student reps to the Board of Selectmen. I've never posed it to the board itself. What is there anything that you can think of that can be done to help to move information around to the people of Dudley? Through the schools is great for folks who have kids in the school system, but for those of us whose children have aged out of school and are now working and whatever, how can we find out about what's going on in our community that we're just not hearing about? We really don't have newspapers that cover us that well. We've got a weekly and the daily is in Worcester, and they don't cover everything that happens in every small town. So any ideas you might have to improve the information movement around Dudley? And I guess if I have to pinpoint somebody, the other 2 have started off, so we'll hit Mr. Johnson with this one.
Okay.
Oh, finally. So, I don't have to reflect on what these guys are saying in front of me. Social media is so pervasive in our kids' lives, maybe a few of us as well. We have to use the available resources in town to direct that information in the best possible way. Like every once in a while, I'll see a post from the town of Dudley about a topic. How do we take that and deliver a steady stream of information without too much cost or management of that? And I think probably forming a group of young men and women and poll them and find out, what is the it's gonna crack a joke. What's the hip thing these days that they're looking at? What are the ways that they're receiving information? Because that's the next generation of voters. I've got 2 daughters that are over 18 and hoping at least one of them votes for me. But how do you deliver information to them that gets out there? Is it Snapchat, Instagram? I guess Facebook's for old people like me now, from what I'm hearing. But they're the ones that know, and we have to poll them and find out. Because hopefully some of them are the future people running for these positions, and getting them involved early would help too.
Excellent.
Can I add to that, please?
Jerry?
Yeah. Well, I just want to say, you'd be surprised how many people today aren't really computer literate, don't have a $700 smartphone. Sometimes you may have to rely on snail mail. Have to see what's in a budget, maybe send something in the mail. Everybody's relying on their phones today for information. I know I do, so not everybody does it.
Excellent. Paul?
You know, right now, my wife Laurie, my daughter KJ, and I, we coordinate the activities of the Blessed Backpack Brigade. Our meals, we feed 150 or 200 people. Why? Because Laurie posts on the Facebook page what the menu is, and the people show up and they eat. Our chef is the general manager of the food service at Nichols. He volunteers. He was with us when we were at St. Andrew Babola. We left St. Andrew because they wanted to charge food for the meals at the time. He came with us. They asked him to stay. He said no. He said, I'm going to go with these people. And he's been with us now for how many years? 2.5 years? Wow, is he good? I'm not going to lose weight eating his food. Let me tell you that. The mentoring program I already talked about, but here's an underutilized resource. Susan Engelmeyer, the president of Nichols College, is an outstanding person, as well as a great college president. We're lucky to have her in town. We need to utilize their students and their savvy on a regular basis for college credit. There's one class, entrepreneurship class, that raises money every year for the Backpack Brigade. There were other students who are technologically savvy. It's a business college. It was a business college, forgive me. All right? Let's use them. It's a great resource in town. And you know what? We have a saying in the auction business. If you don't ask, you don't get. We can't wait for Nichols to come forward and say, hey, we were thinking of this. No, we have to go to them. That's another reason why we need to have a grants person dedicated in town. The feds aren't going to come to us and say, hey, we got this money, you want some? We have to go to them, and there's tons of money we're now qualified for. I'm sorry, I ran on.
Outstanding. Is there anybody else? Mr. Marcy.
John Marcy, Board of Selectmen, Fairview Ave. I thought I wasn't going to ask anything, but I figured if one or two of you guys will sit up there with me, I think you guys all have some great positions, and let me say thank you for running, all of you. Thank you, Mr. Moderator, for everybody who came here. I mean, getting people involved, even in this little room, that's so important. When we have meetings that there's not a lot of people, sometimes it's like, where is everybody? Yeah, they're watching. Town meeting when there's only 65 people that showed up. Lots of cool things can happen, like did Monday. But, it's all about showing up. But beyond the issues, you guys all have some really good positions on some things. But this is a question I always ask for our people we hire. Paul, you know what I'm going to ask. Tell everybody, each of you, what's one thing that the town of Dudley might not know about you? Something fun, something interesting, something we would like to know. Thank you.
Who's that directed to?
Jerry, go first.
Okay, Jerry. Just one thing, right? Okay, go ahead. Don't get crazy. Okay.
Well, I guess I'm still living in the 70s. I got a couple of muscle cars that I used to have when I was in high school. I enjoy working on them. I love hearing the engines run. I love the smell of the gasoline. I just enjoy it. So I got a 1966 Corvette, and it's a car I always wanted when I was in high school, but it cost $6,000 then. That was as much as a Cadillac, so I had to pass. So I finally found one, and I really enjoy it. So that's about it.
Great. Jason?
Well, I suppose long walks on the beach isn't too exciting. Stamps. A few years ago, I got interested in understanding where I came from and where my family came from, other than Warsaw Ave. And I started looking into, Ancestry.com. I'm not getting paid by them, but that's what I used. And started looking into the research, and it was better than reading any book that I've read a lot of books, and that was an interesting story because, how do you know where you came from and how you got here? I sound like a commercial for the Ancestry.com now, but that's been very interesting. I've seen ancestors from 1680 came over into a Dutch settlement in New Amsterdam, New York. It's like, that was pretty cool. I went to visit the houses that they built. So it's kind of a boring hobby, but it's interesting. And it was a little bit less interesting than saying I like craft beer, which...
Excellent, good. Paul?
I don't have a 66 Corvette. I wish I did, but I don't. A few years back, I commuted to the University of Indiana every summer for 3 straight years, and eventually received what's comparable in the auction industry to a doctorate in auctioneering. Yeah. And it was granted by the University of Indiana and by the National Auctioneers Association. Prior to that time, I didn't know such a thing existed. So that's the tail end of my education beyond sitting on the Board of Selectmen and learning something every meeting.
Outstanding. We'll take one more. Absolutely. This is going to be good.
Tim Shore, Michael Lane. 3 of you obviously know Dudley very, very well, the history of Dudley, the present structure of Dudley. Where do you think Dudley has hit a home run, and then where do you think Dudley has struck out over the years? So Jason, we're going to start with you again.
Oh, okay, all right. Home run. When I look at the education of our children, I am so happy to see such a talented, extraordinarily talented team teaching STEM classes, math and science, throughout the school system. I really think that's a home run. Most innovation is going to come from some kind of technical role, or someone learns how to do something that could reinvent the world. And Dudley hit a home run with education. That's why we moved to town. I know that's why a lot of people stay in town with their children. When it comes to striking out, the last few days I've been contemplating what happened on Monday night at the town meeting, and 65 people decide the fate of the town on any given article. And a lot, I'd say, 90% of the items on there, everyone's in agreement, it's the right thing to do, it's a straightforward thing, move money out of the permit to overtime. It's like, yep, everyone says makes sense. But then when we have very important items that we need to really address as a larger voting base, it's very few people that are deciding. And hey, they show up, they get the vote, and that's how it works. But how do we get the next round of people to get involved? And since the question came up earlier, it's like, how come I don't see all these 18-year-olds up there, telling their father that he doesn't know what he's talking about because they know everything already? And it's like, that's their chance to, strut their stuff and start arguing the things that are important to them. Because really, we're going to leave this town in a condition that's either going to be good or bad for them. they should get involved and start deciding some of these things with us.
Absolutely. Good answer. Jerry?
Well, every time I go by that fire station, I know we had some setbacks with it, but it's getting built, it's gonna be done, it's beautiful. I think we hit a home run with that. I think our police department is second to none. We've got a great fire chief, a great police chief. I think we're doing great in the safety and security, which is a #1 thing to attract people here. You gotta have a great fire department, a great police station, and people that run it. So that's a definite plus to me, a home run, as you will. I think our stabilization fund should be close to $1 million. I think we need more tax revenue. We need a new police cruiser, that's $51,000. A street sweeper, that's $225,000. Firefighting gear, that's $24,600. Where are we gonna get the money? We're gonna have to figure it out, so we've gotta get new tax revenue.
Paul?
Tim, I can come up with a home run. I can come up with a few home runs. But I'm going to agree with Jay. The biggest home run, the grand slam, is our educational system, both Shepherd Hill and Bay Path. Second to none. We all ought to be grateful that our children have the opportunity to go to school for whatever they want to pursue right here in Dudley or in Charlton. I can't think of a strikeout. I honestly can't. I'm not being, I'm not looking through rose-tinted glasses. I do think, and one of my pet peeves is when I see a Red Sox player watch a called second strike, because that puts them in the hole. Now the pitcher's got a choice of what they can throw, and they're at a disadvantage. I think we've watched a couple of called second strikes, and we haven't bit the bullet and moved ahead. One of them is we have not capitalized on the agricultural resources that are in this town. Two is we have not aggressively, as a town, pushed ahead and gotten support from congressmen and our state legislators to expand out and get businesses to go along West Main and up 131. I had a conversation a few weeks back with John LaFleche, the superintendent, Bay Path, and I said to him, we're spending tens of thousands of dollars to send students from Dudley to Norfolk Aggie because we don't have an agricultural program. So I said, can we do one? He said, nope. They won't let us. We've already got agricultural programs. I said, well, how do we go in through the back door? There's always a back door. He said, and I told him about the farmers we've got on this agricultural commission. By the way, do you folks know we've got over 4,000 acres? Let me say that again. 4,000 acres in Dudley under Chapter 61, Forestry, 61A, Agriculture, and 61B, Recreational, Set Aside, Conservation. 4,005 acres. 3,584 acres just in agriculture. We need to project Dudley as a place where agriculture is welcome and thriving. We've missed the ball on that. We've missed the ball on going out to West Dudley. So those are the two things I think we've watched called second strikes, but they're not quite strikeouts yet.
Fantastic. Now what I'm going to do is go with the closing remarks on each, starting with Jerry.
Well, I've been on the FAA committee for 2 years now. I have an existing working relationship with the selectmen and the finance committee. I owned my own business for 7 years, and believe me, I know how it is to live on a budget and try to figure it out. I think I would be an excellent choice for a selectman. And I'll again say that my pledge will be, everybody I seem to talk to, everybody's worried about tax hikes, and I'm gonna do everything in my power to keep the taxes low. I'm a strong advocate for our seniors, our veterans, and those on a fixed income, make sure they're gonna have everything they need. And I'd appreciate your vote June 10th. Thank you.
Outstanding. Jason?
I believe the world is revolved around rhetoric. It's easy to claim you're for one thing or for another thing. It's very difficult to bring those things to fruition. You know, whether it's funding for very important town services or a senior center for the seniors. You know, funding these initiatives and services are so important. There's got to be a sense of urgency about problem solving. We like to say we're going to keep taxes low. Some people might say we want sidewalks on everything, and a lot of that is rhetoric, because the skills and tools to solve these problems aren't necessarily ingrained in most people. What I bring to the table is the ability to look at things that the townspeople want, things that they need, and things we're required to do, and create solutions for funding, improvements, and how to be cost-effective in doing it. I don't believe you run any business or any group without year-on-year cost savings before you ask for more money. You need that money tucked away so that when the roof on the building goes, you can pay for it. So I bring a set of skills for solving problems. I moved to town because I wanted to pay low taxes and get a great education for my kids. Frugal, I think, is the word. So I want the same to continue. And how do you bring in businesses with infrastructure and water issues like we have? You either have to invest in the town and solve those problems, or you have to do the best we can with what we have. And that's really up to the town, and showing up for town meeting and pushing the ideas that you're passionate about are the only way to do that.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Paul?
Good job, Dave. Good job. Thanks, Dave. Not bad. Not bad, you guys. With me, you know what you're going to get. May 4th of last year, you know what I'm going to do for the future. I already talked about it. Infrastructure, West Dudley, agriculture. Not taking any baloney from people who come up before us, making sure they tell the truth. By the way, many times I'll ask a question of someone who's sitting at that table I already know the answer to. But the people watching, the elderly, the seniors, the unemployed, the underemployed, they don't know. I want them to know what we know when we're making a decision. I want that transparency to be there. Real quick. May 4th, UMass Memorial, I experienced life-saving surgery. Had my wife and daughter not picked up that something's wrong with Dad, and had that infection not gone to my brain within 48 hours, and I know some of you will find this hard to believe, but in 48 hours, through the infection, I was a blithering idiot. Honest. And never knew it. The day after the surgery, my surgeon, Dr. Jessica Simons, came in and said to me and to my wife, we were only two in the room, She said, Mr. Joseph, you beat the devil to the back door by 2 days. Had we waited to the weekend to operate, you would have left here in a coffin. Why do I tell you that? Not sympathy. I don't feel bad for me. I don't blame anybody. All right? It is what it is. It's a new set of challenges. But here's what I learned. It's okay to press people for the truth. But don't make them cry when you do it. So I'm going to continue pursuing the truth and defending my town with the same passion that I did the first day I took office 15 years ago. That's my promise.
Fantastic. So before I go on to the town clerk candidates, I'd like to thank all the candidates for taking the time to want to get involved and make a difference and make a better place for all of us. And I'd like to thank everybody showing up today, taking it out of your schedule to want to get involved, ask the questions, look at them in their eyes, face to face, and get involved as well. That's the only way we're going to make things happen. So I'd like to give them an applause, and thank you very much.
We need to applaud these people for making the time to be here. So from us to you, thank you.
Very good. Very good. You too. Now out in the hallway, there is free coffee and free delicious little treats out there if anybody wants some. Is it caffeinated or decaf, Michelle? It's caffeinated.
Jesse's half brother. He had the same problem. Just before he was younger, you got tall really fast. And that your bones don't grow that fast. Now you fight with that.
What I'm Mason, actually come down
Fortunately,
from, you come down from,
Oh, no, thank you. I'm good, thank you.
come down onto Mason. He's always got signs there. And, you know, if you come on a stop sign, you're sitting here, this house is right here. Got him up.
Intersection of Airport and Haven, I think I went last night, I just did the music I walked all the way to the third level and then I'm wheezing by the time I get to the drive. So I think I might try to go out again tomorrow afternoon. Or next week if you want. Whatever's good for you. I'm not going to go over the weekend if I find anything.
outside your house, I can pick them up, I'll put them in tomorrow.
Okay, perfect. I'll do that. I'll leave them right on the bench outside the door.
It's like the old days of UPS going there.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you. I appreciate
There's
it.
a lot of signs out there.
I do. I've got 80 signs. Embarrassed now listening to me. It's making me nervous.
I'm not, people walk up front
Oh, that's okay. Well, thank you. So I'll give you a call tomorrow. Right around 2 o'clock. I'll put the signs outside of my door tonight. My husband knows. Talk about it. He's sitting next to you.
He was sitting
You
there.
probably want to take a bathroom break in between. That's ridiculous. that's right. I didn't get to go see it. I was over visiting my dad.
And we have to be informed. That's a lot. Yeah. But our chairman, whatever committee or board sends out.
I agree.
I like them, I know them, but they know, knock it off. I saw nothing. Is your question for the same thing? I think great for everyone. I'd have them, but I got 10 seconds. On my own, because I'm not getting educated, but they wouldn't be part of it. That's it. Now you know how to roll this. You better have questions. Ready? Okay, everyone? We're going to start in about 1 minute.
I think once you put your feet where's the sign? Okay, you're in the middle, Helen. Once just put your feet up on when you're tired.
Hi.
Oh my gosh. We had a church service Easter, and they shut the lights off. And there's only like 20 people in it, but the pastor just kept talking and talking and talking, and I was like, oh, please, I couldn't get out. It was like pitch dark.
Isn't it awful? The minute you know you can't cough or something, that's when it's the worst.
Right?
I do have cough drops. Mary, you need some?
Crap. Is that on?
Thank you. Do you need
Sorry,
any?
Heather. I think I'm good.
I know
One
we're
never
both
knows,
hacking,
right?
you're not. There you go.
If everyone could please have a seat, we're going to start now. We're going to start with the introduction of the town clerk candidates, in alphabetical order. Heather Bowes, Mary Devlin, Lori Smith. What I'm going to ask in that order for each of you to give about a 3-minute opening remark, just like the selectmen did, a little bit about yourselves and your political platform. It doesn't have to be in-depth or long. And we'll start with Heather.
All right, welcome everybody. I'm going to warn you, I'm not going to be nearly as suave as the gentlemen were. Did a great job. I haven't done any public speaking in a while, so let's give this a whirl. My name is Heather, and as you know, I'm running for the position of town clerk. I grew up in Athol, but I've been here for over 20 years. When my husband and I started looking for a home, we started looking down towards this way where his family was, and we researched the school systems, and this is where we landed. After my first job was in customer service at the age of 14. After high school, I got my degree in business, and my first job was at Perini Corporation in Framingham, where I quickly learned about bridges, tunnels, all that, how they were built, how to put together change orders, purchase orders pretty quickly. From there, we started looking for a home. We found our home. And that's when we looked for our home and did our research on schools, and it was time to find a new job. I went to Atlas Distributing in Auburn, which is a beer and wine distributor. I worked for the president, the vice president, and the sales team. I put together sales incentives, I did their sales incentives, I did reports, I reported to the vendors, I reported to the Alcoholic Beverage Commission on a weekly basis to make sure we were up to date with the pricing and everything so that we could continue to sell the products. I organized their sales incentive trips, I worked on their company holiday events, and I represented the business through charitable organizations such as the United Way. 6 years later, as our family changed, it was then when I made a decision to open my own business, Pride and Joy Daycare. For the last 15 years, I've helped raise numerous children, reported to the state, licensed myself, stayed up to date on trainings, and am a mandated reporter. All of these require a high level of professionalism and confidentiality. Over the last few years, as my children have grown older, and they no longer want toys and everything in their bedroom and come home to kids sleeping in their room, taking naps, I've got myself back into the workforce. I'm currently an office manager and work at a local nursing home as a healthcare provider. As we know, the town of Dudley town clerk position is elected. This is something I take very seriously, and I believe that with my background and my commitment to volunteering in the community, that this is the job for me. I'm active in the PTO, the Booster Club, Boy Scouts, our church community, as well as other organizations. I've spent time with the youth substituting in the Dudley-Charlton Regional School District, and I've spent time with the elderly in the nursing homes. I'd be a fresh face to the town hall, yet someone who is well-rooted in our community. In closing, I'd like to say thank you. Am I saving my closing?
You could say that in your
All right,
closing.
We can say it
Yeah.
later. How's that? All right. Thank you.
Excellent. Mary.
Hi, everyone. My name is Mary Devlin. I have over 20 years of municipal experience in Dudley and Charlton. I know well the skills, knowledge, and services required of the town clerk's office. These services are vital to Dudley residents and the smooth operation of our town government. I was the executive secretary to the Dudley Board of Selectmen for 6 years. Since 2004, I have been the administrative assistant to the town administrator and the Board of Selectmen in Charlton. I have often been called on to make difficult decisions in both positions. The town clerk is a very important position as it's a point of contact to residents and visitors seeking information. Efficient customer service is a must. I am thoroughly familiar with Mass General laws, public records law, the open meeting law, and the conflict of interest law. I provide seminars to public officials and employees to keep them updated on Mass General law changes. I am also a notary public. For over 20 years, I have provided efficient, courteous customer service, and I promise to continue that commitment as Dudley's town clerk. I have hands-on experience with payroll, billing, public records requests, confidentiality, elections, and town meetings. I've done a lot of community service to help those in need, and I will continue to do so. I helped form Dudley's Youth Commission, and that was back when I worked here in 2002, I think we started, or 2001, which I was chair for 3 years. We put on events such as the Haunted House at the Grange, a luau at the Dudley Beach, Easter egg hunt, and the tree lighting at the old Dudley Town Hall. A good town clerk is dedicated to the community, both inside and outside of the office. It would be an honor for me to continue my service to the community where it all started in 1998. Thank you.
Lori?
Okay. Hello, my name is Lori Smith. I am a candidate for town clerk. I am a lifelong resident of Dudley, where my husband and I have raised our 3 children. I firmly believe that Dudley is the perfect place to live and raise your family. I have earned both my Master's in Business Administration and my Bachelor of Science in Business Administration from Nichols College. My work experience includes over 13 years municipal experience with the town of Dudley and 15 years experience in higher education at Nichols College. It is this combination of my education experience that makes me a well-qualified candidate for this position. In my municipal experience, I was able to learn the inner workings of a municipality. I am knowledgeable on the open meeting law, the conflict of interest law, and the public records law. My experience at Nichols College has allowed me to expand my experience, hone my presentation and organizational skills. My responsibilities at Nichols included coordinating the opening day for students, organizing multiple events both as part of a team and individually, and I served on the logistics subcommittee for the Empowering Women in Business annual conference that they had. These skills would directly relate to running an election because you have to know all of the moving parts and be very organized for that. We have been very fortunate to have Ora Finn for our town clerk for the past 25 years. I would welcome the opportunity to be able to continue doing the great work that she has done. Thank you very much for your consideration.
Okay, you ready for the questions now?
Ready.
Okay. All right, the first question. Please provide examples of your community involvement, particularly as it applies to municipal government, such as boards and committees. And we'll start with Heather.
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
Absolutely. That's why I'm here. Please provide examples of your community involvement, particularly as it applies to municipal government, such as boards and committees.
I'm not on any municipal boards or committees. However, I do have experience with the, do you want me to share other experience volunteering?
You can. They just want to specifically know about the boards and committees with the government, but you can absolutely expand.
I've been involved with Boy Scouts for years, the PTO and the Booster Club. I've run the turkey trot in town. It's a run on Thanksgiving morning that I've been in charge of for the last 4 years. I've run the Wizards game at Shepherd Hill, which is 800, 1,200 people, and other events.
That's great. Okay, good. Then we'll move on. Same question to Mary.
Between Dudley and Charlton, the Youth Commission was one. That was a big thing to get the students involved. We had kids of all ages jump in. As far as in Charlton, I'm on a Boston Post cane committee, which is the cane that was given to every town. And we find the eldest resident in town. And then when they pass, we have to find the next one. So it's a lot of fun, actually, to work with the elderly like that to find out who they are. I do assist other departments. I help out at the elections and all. I think that's pretty much it.
Excellent. Okay, Lori.
My involvement on a committee for the town was the Parks and Recreation Committee. I had been on that for, I believe it was 5 years. I was the co-chair of the Parks and Rec. We did multiple things. We had worked on a trail at Oddlock Acres. We put in the basketball park on Pine Street. We've written a couple of grants. We did the skate park. I believe we also did the haunted house that Mary was talking about with the Youth Commission many years ago. So that's my involvement on committees with the town. I as well have been involved in other committees. Currently, I'm on the board of directors for the Boys and Girls Club of Webster and Dudley. And another thing, it's not really a committee, but Earth Day has always been a very near and dear thing to my heart. I know not many people like going picking up roadside trash, but it feels so good when the road is picked up and it looks clean, at least for a day or two. So I've been doing that for the past 25 years.
Excellent. Good. Okay, we'll go with, since the position has been held by the same individual for the past 25 years, what do you feel would be the biggest challenge if elected to the position of town clerk? We'll go with Heather.
Well, I think when you're filling somebody's shoes who's done a great job, it's always challenging. But I think I will have great customer service skills. I'll be welcoming to anybody, whether it's the youth coming in to get registered to vote, or it's your family coming in to register the dog, or to pick up a birth certificate for their new baby.
Oh, good. That's good to know. Excellent. Okay. Mary.
Aura has always been one of my biggest role models in municipal government. I learned a lot from Aura, and if I could hold the office as smooth as she does and be as kind and courteous as she always has been, then I have succeeded in the task that I'd like to do.
Okay, super. Lori.
I think, as the other two speakers had just acknowledged, Aura did a fantastic job in this position, and it is indeed big shoes to fill. I think the biggest challenge would just be getting acclimated to the office and all of the, I mean, there's so many responsibilities to it. One thing that I think would be the biggest item to try to get used to would be the elections. It's kind of like when I started with the water and sewer department, the thing that scared me the most was billing, because I was afraid I would mess up everyone's bills, and that didn't happen. But as far as this position, I think the elections is something that would be the most, it would take the most getting used to. So what I've done is, I had been proactive, and I reached out to the town clerk in Sturbridge. I did an informational interview with her. She was great. We talked for 3 hours, so she kind of told me some of the things that she did. And I feel a lot more at ease now because we had similar background. She worked for the Board of Health and was on Parks and Rec and is now the town clerk. And she was able to give me some pointers as far as how she prepared for that. And she was even gracious enough to let me go and job shadow her on April 4th for their election. So I was able to kind of see through the process with her. And now I feel confident in that.
Okay, great. All right, I'm going to throw a couple out here now. Mary, when are Dudley's town meetings?
Dudley's town meetings. It is the Monday before Memorial Day, and then in the fall, it's a date chosen by the selectmen at one of their meetings held in June.
Okay, okay. Now, the town meetings, Lori, how many times a year do we have town meetings?
We have 2 per year. We have one in May, and the other one is usually in October. However, they can call a special one. I believe it was this past summer that there was one called in the summer.
Okay. Heather, do you attend the town meetings, and what is the town clerk's duties for the town meeting?
The town clerk reads the opening warrant. Yes, I have attended some. I don't attend them all the time.
Okay.
I did attend the most recent one and the one last year.
Okay.
And she records.
Okay, good, great. A lot of these questions I didn't write, so I'm just looking at them first. Okay, we'll go back to Lori. Have you had an experience working at elections in the past?
I have. When my children were smaller, I had helped out as an election worker, just checking people in and out.
Who would you contact for election assistance?
If I was the town clerk, is that what you're asking?
Correct.
If I was the town clerk, I think Aura has a wonderful staff of election workers that have been there for years and years. They're very reliable, they know the system in and out. I would definitely keep that same staff on. And then, you know, obviously you'd have to always be looking for people if someone can no longer do it, to be recruiting for new staff to come on.
Okay.
Does that answer the question?
That's, as far as I'm concerned, it does. Yeah. Great. I'm going to go with Mary. How can you orchestrate a greater turnout and more public participation at these meetings?
I think just getting the word out more. You can post things in stores, letting them know when town meetings are. Cable access is a good way. The websites, Facebook, anything you can do to get it out there and just have people out there. It's hard, believe me, because I've been in that spot quite a few times that you have to try and get it out there, and it's not as easy. So any new ideas to help get it out there is the best.
Okay, great. Heather, what is the one thing that you think you would do to improve the working of the town clerk's office?
Well, I've also had the opportunity to speak with a couple town clerks in the area, and security is really what everybody stresses. Keeping records safe, making sure whatever voting equipment that they purchase in the future or have now is working correctly and secure.
Okay, great. Now I'm going to ask all three of you. We'll go in order: Heather, Mary, and Lori. Start with Heather. Based on your background, how do you feel you're the best qualified to assume the responsibilities of town clerk?
While, as you can tell, I don't have the municipal background that everyone has, but I feel, again, since the age of 14, I have been involved in customer service. That's, I think, the number one thing, making sure that people are happy, they have a friendly face to walk into. I'm involved in the community. I've tried to instill that in my kids since they were born, that you got to give back, and like Paul said, you've got to make the time. You can't just say, oh, we'll do it later, and sometimes I feel like that's all we're doing is community stuff, but at the end of the day, you know, we'll be at the yard sale this weekend, and I'll be actually having a good time at the Boy Scout yard sale and laughing. And
Okay, good. Mary, how about you?
Could you repeat it, please?
Based on your background, how do you feel you're the best qualified to assume the responsibilities of town clerk?
With my background, I do a lot of one-on-one with the town clerk's office now. The selectman, the town administrator, and town clerk, for town meetings, setting up the elections, the rooms if we need to help, public records. I'm a public records access officer right now, and a lot of that, I work with the town clerk if we need to. I have the background, I know Mass General Law, a lot of the other laws that we do, and I provide the seminars to keep elected officials, appointed officials, keep employees updated on everything. I do have a lot of the background needed for that, and I think I would be a good fit in there.
Okay, great. Lori, how about you?
I feel my municipal experience as well is something that makes me a good fit for this position. I work for the water and sewer right now, and we do interact when I'm posting the meetings, if I have to look up articles. Same thing, I've worked for the Board of Health before. The town clerk's office interacts with every single department. I am well aware of all of the committees. As a matter of fact, some of the members have been on this committee when I worked for the town the first time, so it's still, I know the people on the committees, I know what the committees do. I believe also my experience at Nichols College has helped me too, because in that, the roles that I've held at Nichols, I had to do a lot of presentations. That's a large part of this job too. You're up in front of the people at the town meeting. You're the face of the town. People come to the town clerk's office first because they might not know what department they have to go to. All of the positions that I've held had a high degree of customer service, and I think that's essential for this position.
Okay, great. Now I'm going to start with Mary. Mary, what is your understanding of the functions of the position of town clerk?
The position of the town clerk is one of the main functions of government. That's the point of contact for citizens and residents come in seeking information. It's somebody that has to be sympathetic when needed, always have a sense of humor. You can always take a bad situation and turn it into a better one. a little humor goes a long way.
Okay, good, good. Then we'll go with Heather. What attributes differentiate you from the other candidates?
Again, I don't know them very well, but I think I'm very friendly, I'm outgoing, I get involved, I'm not afraid to push forward and get what needs to get done.
Okay. That's good. I'll take that. Okay. Regarding municipal elections, how does a person get their name on the ballot? Heather?
You go take out nomination papers at the town clerk's office,
Okay,
and then you get signatures,
okay.
turn it back in.
Mary, what would you say?
I would say you'd have to get the nomination papers, and I think the maximum amount of signatures that have to be verified from registered voters is 50. So I think it depends on how many voters were in the last year or two, depending on how many you needed. But the town clerk, you'd pass it in there, they'd have to verify the signatures, and if you qualify, you can make it onto the ballot.
Okay, good. Lori, what would you say?
Pretty much the same thing. You have to take out the nomination papers from the town clerk's office. You're required to have 50 registered voters sign the papers. I would always recommend getting more than that because there might be some that are not registered voters. They might think they are and really aren't, or their signature would be illegible. So
Okay.
you want to make sure that you have enough, so get at least 10% more than that. You have to return them by a certain date to the town clerk. The Board of Registrars will certify the signatures, and then you will be able to get on the ballot after that.
Okay, great. Now I'm going to ask this of all three of you. We'll go in order. Why do you want the town clerk's position, and do you feel you are qualified? Heather?
Well, as people know, or have seen my signs, there's a heart in town. I feel like the town hall is kind of the heart of the community. Other than the schools, the town hall is the heart of the community, and you're the first person people see, possibly, when you come in. You got to make a good you got to look good for everybody, or, make them feel good, welcome them.
Okay, great. Super. How about you, Mary?
First, I have to say, my dad was a big role model for me in government. He was a sewer commissioner, and I was just working for a construction company before I got the job here. My dad always told me that you have to always open your heart, do the best you can for anyone. My mom was the same way. That's how we were all raised. I think a town clerk, and that's, can you repeat the question? Because I think
Absolutely.
I just blew it right out of my mind.
That's okay. Why do you want the town clerk's position? Do you feel you are qualified?
That's where I was going with that.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Government, I have to tell you, in high school, I never liked it. As soon as I got involved here, this was my life. I so enjoy doing what I do, working with the public, exploring different things. I jump in and help other departments as much as I can. Like I said, Aura has been one of the best role models I ever had. And when I started here, she was always there to help me with any questions I have, always guiding me in the right direction. I find I do that now where I am now. There's a lot of people that will come to me for information, and I'll find it. I'm not afraid of a challenge, and I'll do whatever I can to make sure people can get what they can, as long as I can help them. I really feel I have the skills and the qualities to be in there, and I would like nothing more than to keep it going like Aura did.
Okay, great. Lori, how about you?
Okay. I have worked for a municipality, Dudley in particular, for many years. I love this work environment. I think Dudley is fortunate. We have a great group of people that work here for the town. They're all very dedicated to the town, go over and above, and I would like to continue to be able to do that as well. I know I'm working for the town right now, but in my current role that I have, I don't have the interaction with the residents that I would have in the town clerk's office. It's a busy office. You have many different things that you're doing. Every day is something different. I looked at Aura's calendar for the year, and every month there is multiple projects to do. I like to be busy. I like to challenge myself. I have the skill set to do this in the background. and I would welcome the opportunity to be elected as town clerk for Dudley.
Fantastic. Okay, what I'm going to do now is open up the questions to the audience. And like before, just be a question to one individual, and I'll take it from there. So whoever wants to come up and identify yourself and go ahead and ask the questions that need to be asked. Yes, Scott, please.
Okay, again, I'm Scott Sikowski. Told one of our current selectmen that I wish I had asked this question of the selectmen candidates, because I think some of them have been in this situation a lot lately. As standing out at that window or in that office, and you run into the irate taxpayer comes to the window. I've been there a couple of times as that person for a number of people in town. Don't agree. So you've got that irate person at the window, just letting you have it. How do you deal with that? And do you have the thick skin to deal with that? Lori.
Okay. I think in a situation like that, it's always best to stay calm, because if you get elevated, so won't the person that's at your counter. And a lot of times they're just mad at the situation and not you, so don't take it personally. Let them talk and vent, and then when they're through, you can make your point. Explain to them how, well, it depends on what the issue is. You use taxes if that's the issue. Just explain to them, why it is. It's actually not the town clerk's office that would handle that. You would refer them to the right one, but try to calm them down, diffuse the situation, let them vent, and then just explain your view on it. And I think usually that works. And be respectful, obviously.
Excellent. Heather?
I mean, a lot of what Lori said is true. You never lie to them if you don't know why their bill is wrong or whatever it might be. You just got to say, I'll get back to you. Go talk with someone else. Come back to them. Take their phone number. Call them back later if you have to. Be honest. Just like she said, just keep remembering they're probably really not mad at you. I've had a lot of experience with this, whether it was when I was 14 and flipping burgers at McDonald's, or when the nursing home and people don't understand why I'm not letting them leave or go home, or why their family member's not there, or whatever it might be.
Okay, great. Mary, how about you?
This is right up my alley. I do have a gentleman that comes in every year, irate as anything. The biggest thing you can do is just be calm, listen, sympathize, and majority of the time I can get him calmed down enough so he can go to another department and talk to somebody without yelling at them, because they think you're going to have all the answers, and you don't. So you can try and explain. They might not get it. The best bet is always to listen, write it down, make it. You have to let them know that you're concerned and you're going to do what you can to help them get through it. There's only one person that I know of that has ever been removed from the town hall and not allowed to come back. And that was protection. He did try to come after some of the employees. So you do have to protect yourself, but always sympathize and listen, and that's what a lot of people want.
Fantastic. Good answers. Thank you. Is there anybody else with some good questions, thought-provoking questions like that? Real-life questions? Things they might... Yes, sir. Please.
Jerry DiDonato, 24 Barrett Road in Dudley. I come in, you close at 5. I'm probably 2 minutes late, and I catch you closing the doors, walking up. And I say, hey, I need some copies of some paperwork. Would you turn me away or stay and help me out?
And who do you want to direct that to?
Mary.
Mary? Okay.
So to answer that, there are a lot of times I'm at work after hours and people do come in. I won't turn anybody away. If I'm right there and I can get right back in, I'll go in and do it. And that's one less issue somebody has to worry about.
Okay, Lori?
As Mary stated, there's several times that I get done at 3:30, the town hall's open till 4:30. They assume that I'm open till 4:30 as well, too, so I do not turn people away. I will stay and take care of whatever they need.
Great. Heather?
As I told you, I'm an office manager right now. There's always somebody coming in because their lunch is 12:30 to 1:30 or whatever. There's always somebody coming in wanting to pay their rent or ask a question, try to get something fixed. And so I'm notorious for leaving at least 15 to 20 minutes late.
Great answers. Good. Good. That was also a similar question to another sheet that I had about working outside the normal listed hours. If people would be willing to do that, and that's great. That's good. As a customer, sometimes that'd be great to know. Okay. Yes, that's a very good thing. Yes, sir. Mr. Joseph.
Paul Joseph, it'll pick me up.
Okay.
Paul Joseph, Airport Road in Dudley. In order, alphabetical. What are your personal thoughts as to whether or not the town clerk's office should be elected or appointed?
Heather.
I mean, I've done some research on it, and I've talked with other clerks, and I think where it is the heart of the community, I think that it's great that the public gets to pick the face of the person in the town clerk's office.
Wow. Mary.
I think the residents have already told us what they wanted. They want it kept elected. I would never go against that.
Okay. That's good. Lori.
Okay, I as well think that the residents have spoken multiple times. They want to have some stake in who is in this position, so I would say I would keep it elected. I do see both sides of it, though. People are saying on the other side that want it appointed, that it's a professional position. They want to make sure that somebody that comes in has the qualifications. I think our townspeople are smart enough to be able to evaluate candidates and vote in the people that they think are the most qualified. So I have confidence in the residents that they're going to look at the skills that the people bring forward and not just personalities. I mean, everything has to be, you have to look at both. You have to have the personality for the position and you have to have the skills.
That's great. Good answers. Good answers. Is there anybody else, ma'am? Yes.
Marcia Wagner, Hickory Drive. I have a little different perspective about Laura's position. I collected signatures on a statewide for a petition, and I went like from Lawrence, a city like Lawrence, all the way down to a small town like Wales. We collected the signatures, brought them to the town halls to be verified, and by bar none, Aura was the most efficient, prompt, and courteous and sweet. And I reported this to the Board of Selectmen that experience. So I understand that she agreed to stay on to do a little tutoring as the position changes, and I think you're lucky for that.
Thank you. That was very nice. Mr. Marcy, this is going to be good.
John Marcy, Fairview Ave, Board of Selectmen. First of all, I already said it, but I said it to her at her party, but you guys are here. Thank you for stepping up to fill such big shoes. They don't look big, but they really are. I'm telling you they are. From the first day I pulled papers or didn't know who the hell I was, and, encouraged me to, get involved, and really felt good about the journey that I ended up on. So I thank you, Aura, for being a supporter always. And for you guys, I want to ask the same question I asked the Board of Selectmen. It's important to know you guys all bring different strengths to the table. You all have great ideas. I get that. I want you guys to tell everybody something about yourself that's interesting or exciting or that everybody might want to know to sort of, again, you talked about customer service and being friendly, but what should they know about you that would make them say, I like that, right? So, Mary.
I'm a mother of 4. I have 2 girls in healthcare. One is a police officer. My youngest is a sophomore in high school. That's the reason I left the youth commission when I was here before. I had enough. I was tired. I do a lot of volunteer work. I love to paint. You'll kind of see me at a lot of events and in the background. I'm not one in front of a camera like this. I'm used to teaching or whatever. But I'm on the spot. I had better answers than what I had, but I couldn't get them out. So just know that. But I just like to have fun. The children, my girls and I, we go bowling. I have 8 grandchildren, and my 9th one is due December 25th. So we're always active. I have a big family, and we're always doing stuff.
Excellent. Lori?
Okay, as I stated, I'm a lifelong resident of Dudley. I love Dudley, have raised my children here. I have 4 grandchildren, 2 of whom are watching tonight, so I have to have a shout out to Logan and Reese. And then I have 2 that live in Leicester, so Miles and Easton, I can't leave you out. I enjoy my grandchildren. I enjoy the town of Dudley, doing things with family. I'm a big animal lover. Anyone that knows me knows I usually have at least 4 or 5 dogs around me at all times. You can never have too many. I love reading, hiking, camping, just the simple things in life, I guess you could say.
Perfect. Good. Heather?
Well, maybe you should elect all 3 of us, because we all sound like we have the same qualities and enjoy the same thing. I have 4 children. My oldest will be graduating this year, as Paul told you. And then I have a daughter at Bay Path and 2 at the middle school. My favorite week of the year is when we go camping to Sebago. We go with family and friends, and I am known for letting my hair down and a fierce competitor in the Dancing with the Stars competition.
Fantastic. That's excellent. Any other questions? At all? Someone's got to have one that you're curious about. Yes, ma'am.
I'm Peggy Corsi. I live here on West Main Street. Mary, how are your micromanaging skills? Aura walks around election time and everything's nice and calm and nothing's going on. When you've got the election time going on, you've got your office open, will you delegate? Will you just micromanage? Will you do everything yourself, or will you just remain calm?
Delegation is the key to success. There are so many people involved that have been helping out at the elections. I've helped. I've been there. I've helped up in the office. Without her training for everybody, it wouldn't go as smoothly as it does. I know a lot of that, and I think it should stay the way it is. And the more people to get involved that can help is great.
Excellent. Anybody else have a question? Yes, ma'am.
Mary Sansucci. I wondered if the 3 of them could touch again on their educational background.
Okay, I'll just let you go, starting with Heather. Great.
I'm sorry?
Your educational background?
Oh, did you want me to start? Is that
You can start. Go left from right. Sure.
My educational background is I have my Bachelor's of Science in Business Administration and my Master's in Business Administration from Nichols College. While working at Nichols, I was in the Career and Development Center, so I also have many career development certificates as well.
Okay. Heather?
I have an associate's in business administration, and then I've kept up with, for business, just classes and courses and stuff.
Okay.
I have a high school diploma. I took a lot of trainings throughout all my careers of doing everything. I'm an ALICE instructor, and that's what they teach kids in school. I'm CERT trained, there's all kinds of things. All these Master in Law and trainings and everything, I've learned a lot through all that. So I'm more of a hands-on person that could pick it up quicker. I wish I went to college, but I became a mom instead after high school and after working a few years, so.
Excellent. Heather, how do you imagine yourself working with other departments?
I feel I'm a great team player. I get along with everybody. I think that's the way places work best, when you can interact with other departments and they can help cover you, or you can help cover their questions, or...
Okay, great. Mary, how would you prepare yourself to learn about and handle public records, open meeting laws, ethics as town clerk?
Same way I do it now. I already do all that. I've had to go to trainings. And like I said, you have to be able to do the research, know who to go to for the information, keep people updated on any changes, or just once a year put on a training so new people coming in get the same information.
Okay. Lori, how would you prepare for the 2020 presidential election?
What I would do is, I have already begun researching by speaking with previous town clerk or current town clerks in other offices with aura training, tap into as much as I could to learn as much as I could before. In order for an election, I would do as much as I could beforehand, such as they have to register to vote by a certain date for the election. Once that's done, run the list of registered voters. After the election, you have to report the results. So do the Excel sheet before, have everything all set up, so the night of the election you would just plug it in. Get as much done beforehand as you can.
Okay, good. Now on this next one, I'm going to go with all three and start with Heather. What is your feeling on obtaining and maintaining certifications and licenses for yourself as a town clerk?
Well, obviously, I don't have any right now.
Right.
But it'd be important to start right away working on whatever I can get. From what I understand, it's 3 years before you can get the certified municipal clerk, so I'd be working towards that. I've already applied to get a notary, so whatever I've got to do, I'm all in.
Okay, good. Good. Mary?
I agree with Heather. You have to keep pushing yourself to learn and excel in whatever you can do. So any training is available, I would go to as much as I could.
Okay, great. And Lori?
Same as what Heather and Mary had said. I think it's important to be able to get as much training as you can. There's always things that you can learn, so definitely I would take the trainings that I have. I understand that there's also a mentorship for the town clerks. I would participate in that program as well, too. There's a listserv, I believe, too, for town clerks. So even if you don't participate in that right at the beginning, just by looking at it and seeing what other people are sharing, you're learning just by what they're posting on there, too. And then it's a resource down the line.
Okay, great. Any other questions? I have a pretty easy question. I was going to ask the selectmen candidates, but it'll be a surprise for them. How do you think you will work, we'll start with Heather, with the new town administrator?
I mean, I've had a chance to get to know John. I know Tammy through, she also runs a home daycare. Our kids at one point played soccer together. I think it'd be an easy transition. I mean, we both, whether it's one of me, them, we're all going to be new, working out the kinks together.
Okay, good. Mary?
I think I'd have a great relationship. I haven't met a town administrator I haven't liked yet. And like I said, town clerks and town administrators work closely together, and I think it's always good to have that bond where you can talk and assist where needed.
Okay, good.
That too, but I wasn't saying that.
Lori?
I think it's important to be able to work together with not only the town administrator, but the selectmen and everyone in the town hall, because the positions are also interconnected. You're all working together to serve the residents the best way you can. So I think no matter who's in that position, it's important to get along and be able to work together, being open and honest.
Fantastic. Any other questions? Oh, Scott?
Yeah, I guess I spend a lot of time talking with Eagle Scout candidates, and it's a question I ask them an awful lot. On a personal level, why do you want to do this? I'll be honest, it's a job that has a lot of responsibility. There's a lot to do. The pay is okay. Why?
That's a fantastic question, Scott. It's one of the first ones I asked them, but thank you. It's good. It's good.
The political stuff and all of that kind of stuff, but why would you want to change? Why would you want to do this now?
Okay. And you asked for Mary? Mary.
Like I said, municipal government ended up being my thing. I love to learn things. I do a lot of stuff that Aura takes care of now as far as like public records and all. It's just, I love working with the community, and I love being there to help.
Super. Heather?
Again, when I moved here 20 years ago, I tried to get involved wherever I could. One of the first things was I joined the Moms Club. The first few years we were here, we were busy working on our house, so I'm not going to lie, we never left the place. But as soon as I had children, I joined the Moms Club, and I fell in love with the community. As the kids got older, I kind of transitioning to different things. You know, the Booster Club, then the Women's Club, Boy Scouts. Again, I think it's the heart of the community. I've always been involved in customer service, and I like a challenge. And you know, the past 15 years, obviously, I've been home raising kids and helping raise other people's children, and that's not an easy job either. There's chaos 24/7.
Perfect. Lori?
I am interested in this position, as I stated, because I love working for the town. I love working in a municipal environment. The town clerk's position is a really important position. It's got a lot of varied tasks. It requires a specific skill set. I feel my skills align perfectly with that. Aura has done an amazing job in that position. In one area in particular, she has put her heart and soul into the preservation of records and the artifacts, and that is a labor of love. It really is. And I was talking with a friend of mine, and I'm going to paraphrase what he had said because he said it perfectly. He said there are important people that have been here before us that have done important things, and it's so important that we do not lose record of what they did to preserve it for ourselves and for our future generations. And I think that really hit home to me because before I had spoken with him on that at the town meetings, I'd see Aura put in for money in the budgets for the records preservation. And I said, okay, well, you know, maybe we should spend that money for something else in the budget, something that's more urgent. And then after thinking about what he said, no, Aura was right to push for that because we are preserving the history of Dudley for the residents, for not only current residents, but our future residents as well, too.
Right.
And I'd love to be a part of that.
Fantastic. All great answers. But right now, since we're going in circles, we're going to do closing remarks. And we'll start with Heather, go to Mary, then Lori, please.
Just in closing, I'd like to thank everybody who supported me along the way, my family, friends, the people I've met, whether it's at the recycling center, the Black Tavern, everywhere. It's been a fantastic experience. I believe with my customer service background, I can do this. I'm not afraid of taking on a challenge. I'm not afraid to, you know, research things. I'm not afraid to go to conferences, meetings.
Fantastic. Mary.
I do want to thank you all for allowing me to share my knowledge and my skills. I really do feel like I'd be the best fit for the job with the knowledge I have. On top of that, I'd like to thank my opponents for running and making this such a fun race. Unless you ever ran for an elected position. And honestly, I've just been appointed, worked in towns. It's not easy. You have to really get out there as much as you can. And I don't know if you guys read the paper about Charlton, but time was limited for me for a while, so I'll be out there a little bit more. And it's not easy, I give you all credit, and I do want to wish everybody the best of luck, and thank you.
Beautiful. Lori?
Okay, again, I'd like to thank everyone for letting us speak tonight, and I'd like to reiterate my interest in the position and my interest in continuing to work for Dudley, expanding my contact with the residents. I too feel that I am a well-qualified candidate for this position. My background, my experience would lead me to be successful in this position. I know Aura has done a wonderful job. My experiences that I have show that I have dedication, a strong work ethic, and I'm not afraid to take on challenges and do the research that I need to be successful. And I know we're looking at some changes. I looked at Aura's budget, and she put in for no new voting machines. I think that's exciting. I've seen how those work, and I think that would make it so much easier at the polls. So I would like to ask you for your consideration of your vote. And as Mary stated, I did not realize how hard campaigning is. It's a lot of work, but it's worthwhile. You get to meet so many nice people. So I wish everyone good luck, and thank you for your consideration of your votes.
I would like again to thank the candidates for running and caring enough about all of us, and for everybody that has come here tonight and given up their evening to show their support. Thank you very much, and I'd like you both to give each other applause. And that concludes the candidates' meetings. If you want to finish up the snacks in the hall, feel free, please.
You can have these back.
Oh, thank you. We didn't do too bad.